Everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to be going through the 39 books that I have read so far this year. I don't really do monthly reading wrap-ups because I don't really read that many books every month to have enough to do a full monthly wrap-up. So I normally do these scattered throughout the year with just a compilation of books that I've read over the course of a couple of months. So that's what I'm here to do. I'm going to be going through all the books that I've read so far this year. I have read 39 books, which I'm honestly really proud of myself for. Is over 50% of that volumes of manga? Yes. But who cares, because it's still reading. So yes, I'm going to be going through all the books that I've read so far this year. So the first book that I read this year is Spy Family Volume 8. I'm holding up Volume 9 because I thought that I started the year with Volume 9, but I very much did not. I started with Volume 8, and I love the Spy Family series. I'm wearing a Spy Family shirt. I don't know if you can really see it, but yes, I love the Spy Family series. You're basically just following this telepath and a spy and an assassin, and they form a little fake family because Lloyd, the spy, has to go on this mission, so he needs a fake family for that. So he gets a wife, Yor, who is an assassin, and then he gets a child, Anya, who is a telepath, and Anya knows that they're a spy and an assassin, but they don't know that she knows that they're a spy and an assassin. So it's such an interesting dynamic, and just seeing their relationship growing and developing throughout the course of the series has just been so cute and so nice to see, because you can see Lloyd starting to actually care about them, and it's just such a beautiful story and beautiful relationship and dynamic. I just love this series so much. So I read volumes 8 and 9. I gave volume 8 5 stars, and I gave volume 9 4 stars. I don't know why, maybe it just wasn't as good as the other volumes, but I just love this series as a whole in general. The series in general is a 5-star series for me. There's always going to be some volumes here and there that are not as exciting as others, but just overall such a good series, and I can't wait for volume 10 to come out because I think that's the one that has young Lloyd on the cover. I just know it's going to be such a devastating volume, but yes, love Spy Family. Read 2 volumes of this, and then I read 13 volumes of a certain manga series. If you've been on my channel for any length of time, then you know what series I'm going to talk about, because I literally will not shut up about it, and that is Yona of the Dawn. I read volumes 16 through 28, so 13 volumes if I got this correct. Maybe, but yes, I read volumes 16 through 28 of Yona of the Dawn, and I love this series so much. I cannot properly put into words just how much I love this series. The volumes are very hit and miss because this is such a long series that there's inevitably going to be volumes that are kind of boring and drag a little bit, but I love this series so much, and the volumes that I have read so far are just so good. Volume 16, amazing. Volume 18, sobbed my eyes out. Volume 20 something, where Hawk has his love confession, stunning, amazing, just so good. I love this series so much, and it's honestly a crime that it got canceled after 1 season. I don't want to think about that because I just get so upset, because there are so many good scenes in the following volumes that I just wish I could see them animated. There are just so many scenes that deserve to be animated, and this story just deserves to be so popular and mainstream, I guess. I don't know. This series is just so good, and I think it's kind of underrated, maybe. I know a lot of people have been reading Yona of the Dawn recently, but I need more people to read this series because I need a reboot of the series. I need merch. I need everything Yona of the Dawn related, because this series deserves what these other manga series have been getting. It deserves that same level of hype and attention and love. If you like childhood friends to lovers, princess and bodyguard romance, that romance being a extreme slow burn, and a found family and a fantasy historical setting. You're going to love this series so much. There's 38 volumes so far. There's 2 more coming out this year, and there's no end in sight for this series. And I kind of love that because I need to always have Yona the Dawn volumes to look forward to, because if I don't have volumes to read, then what is the meaning of life, you know? My sole mission and purpose in life and on this channel is to just talk about Yona the Dawn, because this consumes my entire brain and like life. Like, this series is me. Like like if I had a list of books that are like basically my personality, this would be one of them. The next 3 books that I read are probably some of my new all-time favorite romances, and that is the Lovelight series by B.K. Borison. This is such a stunning series. This is one of those romance series where they're all kind of interconnected, but they all read as standalones. Like, they all take place in this same universe, like in this same little small town, and it's just such a good series. Like, I'm gonna go through each book individually. The first book is Lovelight Farms. I gave this one 4 stars, and this one you follow these 2 characters, Luca and Stella, and they are lifelong friends. They've been friends for like 10+ years. Like, they're really good friends, and Stella owns a Christmas tree farm, and it's not doing very well. Like, the money isn't good, and just things aren't really going well for her on the Christmas tree farm. So she enters this like social media contest to, you know, win the cash prize and get more promotion for her Christmas tree farm. And she says in her application that she runs this tree farm with her boyfriend. Does she have a boyfriend? No. The host of this contest like loves love and all that, so that's why she lied and said that she has a boyfriend that she runs this farm with. So she of course has to enlist the help of her best friend Luca to be like her fake boyfriend for the week or however long it is. And they care about each other so much, and you can just see that connection forming from like really good friends to like something more. I love a good fake dating with childhood friends to lovers. Like, thank you very much. Yes, exactly. So love this one so much. I gave this one 4 stars. And then the second book in the series is Mixed Signals, and in this one you're actually following the contest host from the previous book. So she is a social media personality. She hosts this contest, and she's visiting the town that Stella's Christmas tree farm is in, and you know, she's doing her thing there, and she's kind of having a bit of an existential crisis, kind of like she's not really loving her job or where her life is at, so she decides to stay in this small town and just kind of figure out what she wants to do with her life. And you know, she eventually stumbles upon a beautiful man, and that man actually works on the farm. But they had a little chance encounter a couple months back at a bar. They had like a little fling. I don't know if it was actually a one-night stand, I don't remember, but they had like a little something going on a few months back. So when she sees that he lives here, she's like, oh no, I cannot do this. But she has nowhere to live, so they end up actually living together, and you're just seeing them like fighting their feelings for each other, but then the feelings are just so strong for each other that they just like fall in love, obviously, and it's just so good. The steam in all of these books is really good, very realistic, which I really like. Love a good second chance romance, so stunning, beautiful, amazing. I also gave this one 4 stars. My favorite book in this series though is the third one, Mixed Signals, and this one you're following Caleb and Layla owns a bakery on this Christmas tree farm property, and she hasn't had the best luck with dating. Like, she's had a lot of bad dates, so she decides that she's gonna do no dating for a complete month. But then Caleb says, what if we pretend to date, or I like take you on dates and show you like what a good date looks like. I don't know what that trope is called, but I loved that setup. He's just taking her on all of these dates and treating her so well, and they eventually form a connection and relationship, obviously. I just love this series as a whole so much. I hope I did a good job of describing them. Like, I'm so bad at describing books, but I Love all three of these books so much, and I can't wait for the fourth one to come out, I think next year. And these are the indie covers. They got a revamp because it got picked up by Berkeley, so they're getting new covers, which they are very similar, but just like the font and stuff changes. But I love these covers, so I love this series so much, and I definitely see myself rereading these, especially in like the Christmas time. I definitely want to reread the first one and annotate it, and I love all of these so much. So if you want a new romance series to get into with all of the cozy small town, like everyone is best friends with each other vibes, and I think you're going to love this series. It's just so good. And then I listened to an audiobook. It's called How to Keep House While Drowning: A Gentle Approach to Cleaning and Organizing. And I don't really have much to say about this one because it is a super short audiobook. I think it's like 4 hours long maybe. It's really short, and I was listening to it at work, so I wasn't really fully grasping everything. But I think it was interesting. It just basically goes into the whole idea of like cleaning and doing chores, and kind of spins them and puts them in a different light and in a way that is more fun. Like if you hate doing chores like cleaning the house, cleaning the dishes, doing your bed, all of that stuff, this book kind of spins that as like care tasks. I kind of want to reread this one and like actually pay attention to it, because I feel like I can actually get a lot from this, because I am a person that hates doing chores. So that's why I ended up reading this one in the first place, but I just didn't really pay that much attention to it, so I wasn't able to fully grasp everything. So I don't really have anything to say about this one, sorry, but I read it and I might reread it eventually. Yeah. I also, of course, had to do a reread of Daisy Jones and the Six because the TV show came out in March, and I think I reread this in like February, and I annotated it, and the tabs, like the color of the tabs looks so nice with the cover. Like I'm so proud of myself for that one. Good job me. But yes, I love this book so much. I read it for the first time in 2020, and I just fell in love with this story, and especially the audiobook, because it has a full cast and you can really immerse yourself in this story the way that it was meant to be, because it's written in an interview format. So I feel like the best way is obviously listening to the audiobook, because if you're just reading it, you don't really get the full experience. Loved the audiobook, especially the second time around, and I love this story so much. I don't really think I have to go into what Daisy Jones and the Six is about, because I think everyone's read it at this point, but this is a 5-star for me, one of my favorite books. The TV show exists, and that's all I'm gonna say on that. And then I read a Kindle Unlimited romance called Good Guys Don't Lie by Michaela Smeltzer. This is the 4th book in the Boys series. The series has been kind of hit or miss for me. My favorite one in the series is I think number 3, the one that follows Teddy, if I'm not mistaken. Number 2. Number 2 is my favorite in the series, called Nice Guys Don't Win. And yeah, it's just a little, I think it's a sports romance series. They all follow the same kind of like group of people. It's one of those interconnected series that can be read as standalones. We can also read them as like a series in order. But sadly, I did not enjoy this one as much as the second one. I love all of these characters. They have such a fun dynamic and just such a fun friend group, but these characters in this one didn't really stand out to me. Like I wasn't really vibing with it. I wasn't in love with it as much as I was with the second one. So I just gave this one 3 stars. I still really enjoyed it, still very fun, but just not my favorite in the series. The next book I read was My Body by Emily Ratajkowski. I listened to this one on audio, which was a really good decision because she narrates it herself. And you know, it's always so good when the author narrates their own books, because they just know how to tell the story in the way that it was intended. So I really enjoyed the audiobook. I again was listening to it at work very passively. Was that a mistake? Yes. I'm gonna stop doing that from now on, but yeah, there's just a collection of essays about her experience in the industry as a model and an actress, and some of the not so good things that she has experienced. I can't really remember that much about it because I did read it so long ago, and I also listened to it on audio, but I would be interested in rereading this one because the first time that I tried reading it, I read it physically, but I just wasn't in the mood for like a nonfiction, so I put it on pause. But I did do a little bit of like annotating and tabbing, and there are a lot of really good quotes and moments in here, but just, you know, I can't really remember like much about it. But I didn't give it any ratings because I feel weird giving ratings to like memoirs and nonfiction if they're not 5 stars. Like if I actually paid attention when I was reading this one, it would probably be a 5 stars, but since I wasn't really fully immersed, I'm not gonna give it a rating because it just feels weird to rate someone's life experience. If you couldn't really tell, I've really been into short books this year because the next book that I read is Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke, and it is tiny. Like, it's not as tiny as another book that I'm gonna show because that was like microscopic. But yes, this is a super short collection of letters. It's less than 100 pages, like 84 pages, and I thought it was okay. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't really like memorable or anything for me. I did tab it and I did highlight some quotes that I really enjoyed, and you know, there were a lot of good little like nuggets of wisdom here and there, but just really didn't stand out to me. Like, it's not going to be a new all-time favorite or anything. Like, I read it and I really did enjoy it, but that's pretty much all that I got from this one. Next up, I read one of my most anticipated releases of the year, Do I Know You by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca, and I sadly did not like this one. I gave it 2 stars. I just didn't really care about either of the characters or them trying to save their marriage. Like, I literally did not care. I just wasn't invested in the story or the characters, which is really sad because the roughest draft by this same husband-wife author-writing duo is one of my favorite romances. I loved it so much. I want to reread it. Like, it's just such a good romance, but sadly this one just did not work for me. So the next book on my list is technically kind of cheating because I did not finish rereading this book, but I have read it once before, and it had been sitting on my currently reading on Goodreads for like 6 months, and I was like, you know what, I'm never gonna finish my reread of this because it's too much. So I'm just gonna mark it as read on Goodreads and just say that I read it because I obviously have read it before and I wasn't able to finish my reread because I couldn't do it. I don't know why. I don't want to talk about it. But yes, so Crooked Kingdom is another book that I kind of read this year. It's on my Goodreads, so I'm counting it, but yes, the Six of Crows duology is one of my all-time favorite series, if you couldn't tell from my channel name, which is Sixofpagess after Six of Crows. Like, I love this story so much. Ever since I read it for the first time in high school, I just fell in love with these characters and their dynamic and their found family, and just I love all these characters so much. And I reread Six of Crows last year, I think, and I obviously want to reread Crooked Kingdom because I had never reread Crooked Kingdom, but I have reread Six of Crows like 2 or 3 times. So I figured it was time to give this one a reread because I wanted to annotate it also. I annotated it, but I didn't finish because I eventually DNF'd my reread, but that's not going to change anything about the fact that I just love this series as a whole. But I think that Six of Crows is kind of the stronger of the 2 books. For the longest time, I thought that Crooked Kingdom was the best one because there are a lot of really good moments in this one. But I'm like reflecting, and maybe Six of Crows is the best one out of the 2, but both these books are always 5 stars. I love them so much. But yeah, I did not finish this reread, but it's still not going to change the fact that I love all of these characters so much. Like, I love them so much. So I will eventually reread this book and finish my annotating, but I just wasn't able to do it this time around because just something about the way that the story was moving was like moving so slow, nothing was happening, and I was like, can we just like hurry up? Like, I was debating just like skim reading it. Maybe I should have done that just so I could have a annotated copy. But yes, I still love this series, still holds such a special place in my heart, but I just could not finish my reread. But maybe I'll get back to it at some point, perhaps. I don't know. So I went through a little bit of a phase where I wanted to reread all of the Hunger Games books. So I reread the first book, which is the Hunger Games, obviously, and I loved it so much. This is such a good YA dystopian series, and I haven't reread it since I read it for the first time like 10 years ago. So it was really fun being back in this world and seeing it compared to the movies, because I rewatched the movies like religiously. Like I love those movies, especially Catching Fire. Something about that movie just rewires something in my brain. Like it's just so good. So I wanted to reread this series because the prequel movie is coming out sometime this year. So I do want to reread the original series plus read the prequel because I haven't read that one yet because like I didn't care. But now I kind of care. So yes, I reread the first book only so far. I'm gonna do a whole reading vlog where I'm rereading this series, but I just kind of put that on hold for now because I have other things I would rather be reading. But yes, I did reread The Hunger Games, and it's just such a good series. Like it's just so interesting seeing how so many of the like social commentary aspects in this book are still kind of relevant and true to this day. And it's just so interesting seeing this whole world and how this world works, and really being able to like analyze it with like a fully grown adult brain, because obviously when you're like a teenager you're not really going to fully understand what this series is trying to say, but now as an adult you can really understand what this series is, and it's just such a good series, and I'm really excited to continue my reread eventually. I gave it some 4 stars. It's just so good. The blueprint for YA dystopians. Like no one is doing it like her, and no one is ever going to do it like her. Like she is the OG, she is the blueprint. Next up on my list I have Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfeld. I didn't really like this one. I gave it 3 stars, I think. I thought it was really interesting and kind of like a literary horror type of book, but I just didn't really care that much about the story or really anything that was going on. Like there are some really good quotes here and there. Like there were a lot of quotes that I wish I could have underlined, but I was listening to the audiobook. But yeah, I thought it was good, but I can't really tell you anything that happens in it. It wasn't really that memorable for me, so I just gave it 3 stars. This was the year that I discovered my love for poetry, and specifically Mary Oliver's poetry. I read 2 of her collections. I read Devotions, which is just a collection of certain poems from all of her works, and I loved it so much. Just the way that she writes about love and life and nature and the natural world. It's just so beautiful. I don't really know how to describe her poetry other than just beautiful and comforting and validating in some poems, and it's just so beautiful. Like I love Mary Oliver so much. I'm on a mission to read every single one of her poetry collections because I'm in love with her work and her writing, and I just love Mary Oliver so much. So many good poems in this one, if you couldn't tell from like the tabs, and like I have some dog ear moments. Like I just love this one so much. I gave it 4 stars only because there were some poems here and there that I didn't really care for. So love Mary Oliver so much. And I also read Felicity. It's super duper short. It's less than, I think it's like less than 80 pages, and like it's like one of those where there really isn't that much. Like it's only on like one side of the page. Like it's like super short, and I read this in one sitting, and I just love this one. Again, love this one so much. This is definitely my favorite collection of hers I have read so far. Have I read enough to say that? No, but I can definitely say that Felicity is just such a good collection. I gave this one 5 stars because I loved every single poem in this one. Just so many beautiful quotes that just made me feel so like comforted and just validated, and just the way that she talks about life and love and the world is just so beautiful. Like I just love this one so much. So Mary Oliver poetry, literally like my favorite discovery of this year. I just love Mary Oliver so much. So yes, amazing, beautiful, stunning. If you want to get into poetry, I highly recommend checking out Mary Oliver because she's just so good. Next up, I have the Heartstopper yearbook by Alice Oseman. This is just a collection of like random little things and moments from the process of writing Heartstopper. Like there's some drawings of what the original comic looked like when it was still a webtoon, and there's just like a lot of like little behind the scenes stuff, fun, cute little character art and like little character profiles, which I really loved, and just, you know, like family trees and just, you know, some extra content for people who love Heartstopper. So just a quick cute little read. If you love Heartstopper and want more Heartstopper content, then I do recommend checking it out, but I can't really like say much about it because it's just like, you know. So I did give it 5 stars because I'm gonna give anything Heartstopper related 5 stars. After that, I read one of my least favorite books that I have read in my entire lifetime, and that is The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the 3rd book in the Inheritance Games series. I gave the first book 5 stars. Absolutely loved it, ate it up. I read it so fast. I have a whole reading vlog for it. Like I love that. I loved that book when I first read it. It was just such a fun ride. But then the 2nd book came out and I was like, what is the point of this? This is kind of getting a little bit off the rails and kind of a little bit ridiculous and just pointless. So I gave the 2nd book 2 stars. And then I read the 3rd book, which was just more of the same thing just happening and being stretched out, and just the love triangle just becoming like ridiculous, and I was like, I don't really care anymore. I just want to finish the series. So I read it and I just literally did not care. Like this series should have started and ended with the 1st book. It could have just been a standalone with an open ending, or maybe it could have been a standalone and just been like a little bit longer, but this did not need to be a trilogy. I'm really upset that they stretched it out into a trilogy. I gave it 1 star. It was a waste of my time. Hated every second of it. Why did it have to be 3 books? Like I very upset about it. The more that I think about it, the more angry that I get. But yeah, that was just a 1 star. Don't want to think about that series ever again. And speaking of series, I did start another series. Did I finish it? No. Am I going to? Unsure. Did I buy all 3 books after reading the first one? Yes, I did. And the series I'm talking about is The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. I did say like a while back that I was never going to read anything by Cassandra Clare because I don't want to read anything about incest or anything like that. But then the Last Hours series came out and I was seeing so many people talking about it and seeing so many quotes everywhere. But then I found out that you have to read The Infernal Devices before reading The Last Hours, and I was like, I don't want to do all of that. I don't care that much. But then I just kept seeing more and more people talking about The Last Hours, and also people talking about The Infernal Devices. Like I know that Katie is reading loves The Infernal Devices, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to start my Shadowhunter's journey. I'm not going to read the Moral Instruments. Don't care about that at all. I'm just gonna skip all of that and go into The Infernal Devices just so I can read The Last Hours. So I read Clockwork Angel. I started a whole reading vlog for this series. Am I going to finish that reading vlog? I still don't know yet, but yeah, so I read Clockwork Angel, thought it was really interesting, thought it was cool, thought it was fun. Will is stunning, Jem is also stunning, so I gave it 3 stars. I did enjoy it. I started reading the 2nd book, Clockwork Prince, but then I DNF'd it, but like a soft DNF. Like I'm eventually going to revisit it at some point in time, but I just don't care enough right now to do that. So yes, I read Clockwork Angel, and I don't know if you can see in the background, but I do indeed own Chain of Thorns. Do I own the other 2 books in The Last Hours? No, but I have the last one because I went to the release event for Chain of Thorns because I knew that I was going to want to read this series eventually. So I was like, I have to go because I know I'm just going to regret not going if I do end up reading the series and loving it. So I went. I own Chain of Thorns. When am I going to read it? God only knows. So yes, I read Clockwork Angel, and I hopefully will finish the rest of the series so I can read The Last Hours. Literally all I care about is The Last Hours. Like I don't want to sit through this series because I don't care that much. Also, I love Will and Jem, so I might do it. I don't know, very conflicting, but Yes, I read Color Angel and I gave it 3 stars. The next book that I have is And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer by Frederick Bachman. This is a short little novella. It's like 80-ish pages, I think. I read it super quick. Kind of. It's a super short little novella, but it just packs such an emotional punch. And it's just so beautifully written and so beautifully told that I cried my eyes out for almost the entirety of it. So yes, I got very emotional. I just cried so much because it was just such a beautiful story. Like I wasn't just like lightly crying, you know. I was like full on sobbing, like hysterically, sobbing hysterically. And every time that a new sentence that I really liked would appear, I would just cry even more because it was just so sad but so beautiful. Like I loved it so much. That was my first Frederick Bachman, and I just fell in love with his writing and the way that he writes these relationships between these characters. It's just so sweet and just so beautiful. Like I loved it so much. I bought 2 of his other books after reading this one because I just had to read more from him. So I bought Anxious People and A Man Called Ova, and I'm very excited to read those. But yeah, I started my Frederick Bachman journey with And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. I loved it so much. I gave it 5 stars. So good. The next book that I have is Only Dull People Are Brilliant at Breakfast by Oscar Wilde. I love Oscar Wilde's writing. The Picture of Dorian Gray is one of my all-time favorite books. It's just so good. So I want to read everything that Oscar Wilde has ever written. And I read this, Only Dull People Are Brilliant at Breakfast. This is a collection of just like a bunch of random little quotes. This is just like his random musings, like kind of like notes app, if you will, like just random little things that he just wanted to write, and it's in this little cute little collection, and I thought it was really fun. There really isn't that much to say about it because it's just a random collection of a bunch of quotes, but I really enjoyed it. Oscar Wilde is just so funny and so witty, and I love his writing. So I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 stars. There were a lot of quotes that I really enjoyed in this one, and yeah. But this next book I did not enjoy. It was another one of my most anticipated releases by one of my favorite authors. I was so excited for it. I pre-ordered a signed and like personalized copy. I was so excited to read it, but then I read it and I did not like it. And the book I'm talking about is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I don't have the best relationship with Emily Henry at this moment because I DNF'd Book Lovers, did not like it at all, and I did not like this one. I love her first 2 books, Beach Read and People We Meet on Vacation, especially People We Meet on Vacation. Like that's one of my all-time favorite books. So is Beach Read. Like I love those 2 so much. And then Book Lovers came around and I was like, maybe this is just like a one-time little flop that I'm just not gonna enjoy. I just didn't really care about the characters. Like, you know, it can't get worse than this. But then it did. Like I just did not care about this story, did not care about the characters, the chemistry. I didn't see it. I just didn't really care about these characters rekindling their relationship because the reason that it fell apart in the first place was a bit silly. Like this is just like one giant miscommunication trope, and I hate the miscommunication trope, especially when it's like this. Like, just talk to each other. Like so many things could have been avoided if you just talked to each other, and like I know it's the point of this book, blah 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 blah. I don't care. I did not like it. I liked the friend group dynamic. I love a good found family. Like I loved the friend group dynamic in this one, but I just did not care about the romance at all. There are a lot of tabs, don't get it twisted. I still did not like this one, but there are some moments here and there that I really enjoyed, and like some moments that reminded me of like me and my boyfriend, like when he was proposing to her. I like cried a little bit. It was really cute, but just did not really care that much about the story, and I gave it 2 stars. And unfortunately, I think me and Emily Henry are donezo for now, because so far her last 2 releases have just not been doing it for me. The next book that I have is The Tea Dragon Society by Kate O'Neill. I randomly picked this up one morning because it was like really early in the morning and I was kind of bored because I woke up before my boyfriend. So I was just like laying in bed. I didn't want to like read like a book and I didn't want to watch like YouTube or like scroll through social media or anything. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna find something on Libby, and I was thinking about the Tea Dragon Society because I've been wanting to read it for a while. and it was available on Libby, so I went ahead and borrowed it and I read it like super quick. I read it in like 30 minutes I think, and I thought it was cute. It wasn't really anything groundbreaking. The story was really cute. I loved the art style, like the illustrations and just the art and the colors and everything. I loved so much. It was so cute and warm and cozy. Loved the illustrations. The story was really cute, but didn't really stand out to me or anything. I might continue the series, just like say that I finished a series, but I also don't really care that much to do that. But yeah, I thought it was cute. I have 2 more books to talk about, and one of them is a new favorite author discovery, and that is Liz Tomford. So I read Mile High, which is the first book in this romance series where it's an interconnected series that follows a cast of characters and each character gets their own romance. If you couldn't tell, I love series like that, and I just really enjoyed this one. So Mile High is about these 2 characters, Stevie and Xanders. Xanders is like this hotshot hockey player, kind of with like a bad boy reputation, and Stevie is the flight attendant on their private airplane. And on Stevie's first day at her new job on this airplane, Xander decides to give her a hard time, and she gives it right back to him. Like, she doesn't really fall for his like tricks or anything. Like, she kind of gives it back to him, and he's like, oh, I wasn't expecting this from you, to be like so, to have these like good comebacks and all of that. Like, he was very caught off guard and really interested in her. So throughout the rest of this book, he's just like bothering her on the airplane, but it's not anything like really too bad. It's just like mostly harmless things. Like, it's not one of those like bully romances. It's just like stupid little harmless things that are kind of like funny, and he eventually starts to get feelings for her and she gets feelings for him, and things just happen and blossom from there. And it was just such a good time. It was a bit longer than it probably needed to be for a romance, but I think in this one it worked because you can really see these characters growing as their own people and also apart. Like, they each have their own lives and their own insecurities and backstories and all of that, and you can really see that happening and fleshing out throughout the story. So when they do eventually get together, it's just so satisfying because you can just see them working through their own personal struggles and eventually coming together at the end. And it was just so good, and like the steamy scenes were very good, and I loved it so much. I'm currently reading the next book in the series, which is The Right Move, which I'm also really loving. Liz Tomford definitely has the potential to be a new favorite author because she is so good at crafting these realistic romances with real people and real struggles that you can like relate to, and just such a good romance. But yeah, I really enjoyed Mile High and I gave it 4 stars. And the last book that I have to talk about is another 2-star. I have not had the best reading luck so far this year, if you couldn't tell. I haven't had that many 5 stars and I don't want to talk about it. So yes, the last book that I have to talk about is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. This was the May book club pick for my book club marked as read, and I did not like it. This book had such bizarre pacing because there's so many time jumps. Like, there's one point where it's like 20% into the story and it jumps to like 2 years later and you're like, what is going on? And then at the 30% mark you have the love interest professing his love for the main character and saying that he's in love with her, and you're like, whoa, 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 what is going on? This is happening way too fast. I'm getting whiplash. And it just keeps going like that. There's just such bizarre pacing, so many random time jumps, and just the pacing was like a big issue for me. And also the fact that there was insta-love in this. I do not like insta-love at all. And coupled with the fact that there was no chemistry between these characters was kind of just like a recipe for disaster for me, because you're giving me insta-love and you're giving me 0 chemistry. Like, what is going on here? What is the reason? So yes, I gave this one 2 stars. I really thought I was going to love this one because I've heard so many good things about it, and the writing style is beautiful. It's very whimsical and like lyrical and very beautiful writing, and so many good quotes that I would have tabbed if I had been bothered to, but I was skim listening to the audiobook. But yeah, I just really disappointed in this one. I really thought I was going to love it, but it was sadly just a 2-star for me. Maybe even a 1-star if I'm feeling like very brutal, but I'm just gonna leave it as a 2-star for now because there were some moments that I liked, but overall just did not like this one. Ending this video on such a good note with a 2-star book, but those are all of the books that I have read so far this year. I have read 39 books out of my goal of 50. Really proud of myself. I've done a lot of reading. Have not done a lot of good reading because I have not had that many good books. I don't want to think about that too hard because then I start to get upset because I've read the majority like 2 or 3 stars. And there have been a lot of like 4 and 5 stars, but a lot of those are manga volumes. I just haven't read like a 5-star book this year besides Mixed Signals and like a reread. But besides that, I really haven't had that many 5-star books this year, and I'm really upset about that. I'm gonna try fixing that hopefully in this last half of the year. But let me know in the comments down below how many books you have read so far this year, and let me know your favorite and least favorite book of the year so far because I'd be really interested to know. And yeah, so that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!